Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth. It's Thursday. It's a new month, September 1st. Hope you're well today. Going to get started with today's live stream momentarily. Normally make these streams public, but today going private, for Power Group private members, but going to make today's stream public, and we'll get started here in about 30 seconds. If you're just joining the stream, let us know where you're tuning in from. Going to get started with today's live stream. We'll do a quick market update, and then we'll get into any ticker requests. If anybody does have any ticker requests, again, making the stream public so you can put them inside of the YouTube chat. And then private Power Group members, let me know, and I'll get to those first. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me. It doesn't cost you anything. If you can subscribe, if you're new, you can tick the bell. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. If you recall from yesterday, Power Group private members, I mentioned that we could still see a little bit more downside in the broader market, specifically the S&P 500, and watch for a potential bottom around 390, 385, 390. And today we hit 390 perfectly, and we're actually testing this support trend line now at the moment, scouting our weekly higher low. So at the moment, everything is extremely healthy, and we're just looking for this weekly higher low. And in order to set this higher low, we need to change the daily trend. So we still need to confirm a daily uptrend and mark that weekly higher low, and we haven't even started the daily bounce yet. But once we do, we have a lack of resistance here on the daily time frame all the way up until 420. So what we need to see to be confident that this support trend line here on the weekly and our higher low is being set, we need to start the bounce on the daily, come down, form a higher low, and then a higher high. Once we get back into a daily uptrend, then like I said, we can be confident that our weekly higher low is set. If we take a look at the crypto space at the moment, we are back in 15-minute uptrends here on some of our names. We can see XLM and XRP, Litecoin, very strong at the moment. We do have Flare Networks launching in a couple of weeks, and we could potentially see a lot of fireworks into September. We have the Ethereum merge coming up. We have NFTs through XLS20 amendment coming on the XRP ledger. We have Flare Networks launching. We could potentially see stablecoin regulation into the end of the year. There's a lot of bullish catalysts coming in the short term here for crypto. So I think September is going to be a very volatile month. Hard to say what's going to happen if we buy the rumor, sell the news, sell into that merge. We'll want to see everything go according to plan as well. If anything goes awry, that's not going to be good whatsoever. But that's why they have the test nets. They're doing all those tests on the test net before they push it out to the main net. But taking a look at Bitcoin here, we are seeing the monthly EMA 12 and 26 bear cross, so this is good. We want to get this out of the way, in my opinion. We could still see a little bit more downside, in my opinion. We're still targeting 18,500 on Bitcoin from the daily bear flag. So if we do lose support here at 19,500, watch that target of 18,500, which is our daily bull flag here. When we were unable to get over that 0.32 fib, it was a weak bounce. We couldn't even get over the 0.236, and then once we confirmed the new lower low, that confirmed the daily bear flag. So again, 18,500 should be a nice area to scout a bottom, but essentially as long as 17,000 holds, we're just fine. We are potential head and shoulders here though. That's confirming, and we could see more downside of about 13K. I do think it's a possibility. There's a lot of indicators right now that are flashing, and the case could be made that we're getting very close to a bottom here in the crypto markets. But does that mean that we could see one more leg down? Absolutely. We could see the capitulative move down, get everybody, everybody who is, trying to get a position, if they took a position in the last day or week or month, we're going to obviously have a ton of stop losses there just below 17,000, I would think. So they could go stop loss hunting. Personally, I think the chances of us going down are probably 40% and 60% chance the bottom's in, right? That's all we can do with regards to charts. We can look at the probabilities. We can look at the most likely scenario. And the fact that we're seeing this monthly EMA 12 and 26 bear cross now is good, because that is another bearish indicator specific on the macro time frame, right? Specifically the monthly time frame. So get that out of the way. That is going to be good for another confluence metric to add to our bottom being set. But taking a look at the bull and bear list, we have HNT, Riot, and Hut leading the decline today. Hive as well. So our blockchain stocks getting hit today. Celsius and Litecoin, and EOS leading the bull list today. A lot of volatility with Celsius lately, but it was the monthly candle close as well on Bitcoin and all of our stocks as well. So we'll take a look at the monthly time frames. Pretty bearish close yesterday, last month. And like I said, 19,500 is going to be the low of last month. So if we lose that, then we're likely targeting 18,500, that daily bear flag, and then we'll start monthly consolidation. And then ultimately, we'll just be looking for a higher low compared to 17,585. But really liking the fact that we're getting this bear cross out of the way here on the EMAs. So SPY already had its daily EMA 12 and 26 bear cross as well. On the monthly time frame, we haven't seen the EMAs cross bearish yet. So if it does do the same thing as Bitcoin, you can see here we're having that bear cross with the longer term EMA 12 coming down through EMA 26, shorter term coming down through the longer term rather. So if we could see that on SPY, that would mean that we could potentially see a lot more downside, maybe even as low as 350, 340. We do have a small higher low here around 311, and we could come back and test the previous all-time highs before the C19 dump. That would be a possibility. So we'll keep an eye on this, but at the moment, we're still trying to hold the EMA 26 here on the monthly time frame. But we did have a pretty bearish close last month on the S&P 500 closing near the low of the month. The only thing that was bullish is that we held EMA 26. But we're losing the low of last month, so monthly consolidation is underway. Now we'll look for a higher low compared to 362. But from here, we could change the trend on SPY. So SPY was in a monthly downtrend with a lower high and lower low, first time since 2008 financial crisis. So now we have the ability to change the trend with a higher low and higher high. And like I said, on the daily time frame, so when we had this daily this equilibrium that we were looking at, this equilibrium pattern tightening range, when we were trying to set our bottom there at 362, we had the low, high, higher low, lower high, higher low, bear break, ended up being a bear trap and a fake out, and then we got the real move, got above our resistances, came back tested old resistance as new support, and then we broke out, and here we are coming back down to test those prior resistances again. So this is very common to happen. And because we got so extended to the upside here on the weekly time frame, we're just scouting a higher low. And like I said, we're holding this support trend line, coming back down, testing those resistances from the previous equilibrium that we were in. And this is healthy at the moment. A lot of people, you wouldn't know it by listening to retail investors online and mainstream media. But like I said, when we get extended to the upside, having consolidated in 6 weeks, we could have easily pulled back about 14% and still be just looking for a higher low. The dollar still strong, so breaking to see more follow through here on the weekly time frame. So it's looking like we're no longer scouting a cup and handle because we are breaking to a higher high here, and we're still very much in a weekly uptrend. So key support on the dollar is going to be 104.63. If we lose that, we lose the weekly uptrend, or we could potentially come back, start weekly consolidation, form a lower high and a lower low. I do think that that's going to be inevitable here over the next few weeks and months. But like I said, the dollar very strong at the moment. That's the key thing to watch going forward. We do have this hidden bearish RSI divergence as well, with the high, low, lower high, and lower low on the RSI, the relative strength index, and then we're breaking to higher lows and higher highs on the price action. So we are starting to see a little bearish div there in terms of the dollar, and we haven't consolidated since January. So it has now been 8 months in a row without any monthly consolidation. So once we do pull back, we'll probably pull back quite a bit and start monthly consolidation. But we're starting a new month here, and in order to start monthly consolidation, we'd have to lose the low of last month, which is 104.63. So again, if we lose 104.63, we lose the weekly uptrend. And what does that mean when you lose the weekly uptrend, or when you lose an uptrend on a shorter term time frame? It means to zoom out to the next up higher time frame, and then you're more than likely starting monthly consolidation or consolidation on that higher time frame, right? And the fact that we're monthly overbought, this is looking really good. I think that the dollar could potentially push up to 114, maybe 112, 114, and then we could pull back to all the way to about 102 to slightly under 100 on the dollar. But again, we are getting extreme here on the RSI. We're almost pushing 80, and we haven't consolidated in 8 months. So I would expect some pretty big weakness here coming into maybe even November, into those midterm elections. But it's hard to imagine that we just keep going, right? Nothing keeps going forever, and it's almost been a full year since we had any meaningful pullback on the monthly time frame. So what does that mean when we go a whole year like that, especially on the monthly time frame? That means that the next pullback's probably going to be a big one, and it may last a couple of months, right? Because of the fact that we haven't established any support on the monthly on the way up. And that would be good for stocks. That's why I'm looking at DXY, the weekly uptrend, and monthly consolidation as the most important factor for stocks and for crypto, because if we do start the monthly pullback, that's likely going to mean a lot of upside for our assets, which would be, crypto and the rest of the stock market. QQQ, so losing 300, and again, starting monthly consolidation, and could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross here as well. So it could very much be following Bitcoin's footsteps. We know that tech and Bitcoin crypto have been very correlated. And if we just take a look at the total market cap as well, yeah, we still haven't seen the EMA 12 and 26 bear cross on Bitcoin on the total market cap. So this tracks the whole market cap of the entire crypto space. So it's entirely possible that we need to see that bear cross happen. We need to see it happen on QQQ, maybe even on SPY. Tesla on the daily time frame could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross as well. And again, still hasn't seen its monthly EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. So just prepare for one potential leg down, and then a pretty big bounce after that is what I would be anticipating. And that would line up more with the thought process of the dollar being strong, targeting 112, 114, and then we see a pretty big pullback, and then that could be the time where our stocks have their monthly EMA 12 and 26 bear crosses and the bottoms being set. Also want to highlight the Bitcoin dominance. So on the monthly time frame, it's a descending triangle. We broke out of it here, but this could have been a nasty bull trap. And you got to think too, with the Ethereum merge approaching in a couple of weeks, these generally break to the downside. So it's a bearish continuation pattern where you have a series of lower highs and a horizontal line of support. And generally these break down. So if we take the measured move from the high here to the low and you extrapolate that out, that would target about 29% dominance on Bitcoin. And you might be wondering, why are we worried about the dominance of Bitcoin? Because if the dominance of Bitcoin is dropping, that means that relatively speaking, altcoins should be stronger than Bitcoin. So the fact that we've been downtrending for many, many years now, and the fact that we have this bearish continuation pattern, this descending triangle, with a target of about 30% means that we could see, and we're very close to breaking out of it here. So if we lose 39%, we're going to confirm this. And then that means we could potentially see a drop of about 25% on the dominance, which would mean that altcoins should exceed the strength of Bitcoin, far exceed the strength, right? And that would be good because we haven't seen our true alt season. And you have to think, if the XRP case potentially settles this month, there's a lot of speculation that it could happen this month before it goes to summary judgment. It just means before it goes to trial. So if there was ever going to be a settlement, it would more than likely be this month before it goes to summary judgment. If it goes all the way to full adjudication, if it goes all the way to trial, it's probably going to be March, April, maybe even May before we see a Supreme Court decision, right? So one would think that if there's going to be a settlement, all cases with the SEC, about 95% of cases end up settling. So the odds are in our favor that we're likely going to see a potential settlement. And if that settlement happens this month, we also have Flare Networks launching in a couple of weeks. We have September 13th is pegged for the date of the decision of whether or not NFTs are going to go live on the XRP ledger. We know that 82% of the validators have voted in favor of it, but now it needs to maintain a 2-week threshold. So it needs to maintain that percentage of approval from the validators on the network for a period of 2 weeks, or else if it drops below 80%, it resets the timer again. So it has to stay above 80%, over 80% for 2 weeks. And then we get Flare Networks launching. We got NFTs on the XRP ledger. We got a potential XRP Ripple and SEC settlement. That would be huge for XRP. And we also have the Ethereum merge coming. So what does that tell you? That tells you that altcoins, specifically Ethereum, is going to probably take a lot of market share and dominance away from Bitcoin. And that would line up well with a descending triangle bear break and targeting about 30% here and getting true alt season, which we didn't see. And if we take a look at coin market cap real quick, if we exclude the stable coins, XRP is in number 3rd spot. So we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. So that lines up again with my thesis. If we do see an XRP settlement this month, if we do see NFTs get approved and take effect and change the ledger forever on the 13th, that would be massive. We also have Flare Networks launching, which is built on the XRP ledger, right? And it's going to be supporting a number of different cryptos to start, it's DeFi, so decentralized finance. There's going to be smart contract capabilities. Huge project that's going to be massively bullish for the XRP ledger. And then, like I said, the Ethereum merge, right? And that's going to make Ethereum 99.95% more energy efficient, right? And all these companies that have ESG concerns, they're going to be looking toward Ethereum, right? Because these banks and all these Fortune 500 companies that have all of these ESG mandates, they're not going to have any problem owning Ethereum because it's going to be essentially, it's going to go to proof of stake. So it's going to be essentially barely any energy at all, right? Just like kind of XRP. But if we take a look at XRP, exclude these stable coins, and well, we have Binance Coin there. I guess I forgot about Binance Coin, but it's technically in the number 4 spot if we exclude the stable coins. And it's not even that far away from Binance Coin. Binance Coin with a market cap here at 44 billion and XRP at 16. And if you remember, I did a video on this, but XRP actually passed Ethereum in market cap at one point. And that was in 2018. So really looking interesting here. If we see 39%, we're getting close. Look, 39.86. If we lose 39, yeah, we could see a massive firework display here on deck for the alts, for the altcoin market. So it's looking really good. On the bull and bear list today, we have VEGA, MVMD, and Snap leading the bull list. On the bear, we've got, I don't know what's going on with this sort feature lately on TradingView, but we got VERY, Bed Bath & Beyond, and SMG. And SIRC, I was telling everybody in the POW group community, be very careful on this one. We were confirming a daily downtrend. We could still see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. And here we are, another daily bear flag. So if we take a look at the Fibonacci here from the high to the low, yeah, it's still a daily bear flag. So we could see another leg down. We could even be targeting that 0.786 here at 25 cents. And this is why I told people to be extremely careful with this name and potentially lock in some profit. Because after running a huge move like that, here we are down 55% in about a month. So Tesla weekly consolidation on the monthly time frame. We're monthly consolidation. We're in a monthly downtrend with lower highs and lower lows. And here we are losing the low of last month, so monthly consolidation underway. But again, just like SPY, we could potentially change the monthly trend here. So we're starting monthly consolidation. We have our low, our high. Now we scout a higher low and then a higher high. So it's not completely game over. The fact that we're starting monthly consolidation is bearish. But on the bull side of things, it's good that we're forming a higher low because now we can come down, get that higher low established, and then attempt a monthly trend change with a higher high followed after. If not, if we lose and we break to a lower low, we see that monthly downtrend continuation. So it's all about support at 206.86. Taking a look at Canadian MJ, LOVE, down 18% after about a 42% pump yesterday. VLNS and ACB leading the decline. On the bull list, we do not have very much. We have WIB and XTRX. But again, Tilray just looking for a weekly higher low compared to 317. As long as 317 holds, that is the most important support. Because if we lose that, we lose the weekly uptrend. CGC, we still haven't started weekly consolidation. So CGC had a huge move, right? 100% off the bottom, basically. But we still haven't changed the weekly trend. And here we are with a multiple weekly inside bars. So if you're looking for a trade on CGC, could be a nice short opportunity here if we lose 328. Because if we lose 328, we could drop about 35% and just be scouting a weekly higher low and a weekly trend change. So this move's all coming off the low. We broke the weekly downtrend with the break of the lower high pattern. But here we are all off the low. We need to see weekly consolidation. Again, what does consolidation mean? It means we're losing the low of the previous candle. So if 328, if we lose that this week, that's going to be a multiple inside bar bear break on the weekly time frame, and we can likely expect, easily pull back, in my opinion, 10 to 20% as we scout that weekly higher low. But it's all about 328 on CGC. Hexo holding up relatively well, but we're still struggling with EMA 12. Look at that brick wall of resistance. Ever since we lost it as support, resistance, 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 we got it above it here and it ended up being a fake out. And we were trying to change the weekly trend. We had the low, high, higher low, and higher high. Ended up being a massive bull trap and fake out into a new lower low. So here we are. Difference this time is we're in a weekly uptrend and we're scouting a weekly higher low. So it's all about 18 cents on Hexo. As long as that maintains, we're still in a weekly uptrend. But you can see here, weekly EMA 12 has been a brick wall ever since we lost it up at $11. So if we can close a weekly candle above this, I'd like to see 2 or 3 candles at least, because you can see here we closed one, the next one we didn't, and then we ended up not confirming the weekly uptrend into a downtrend continuation. So now we want to see the weekly uptrend maintain. We want to see 2 to 3 weekly candle closes over EMA 12. And if that happens, like I said, a lot of our names are going to be targeting EMA 26 on their weekly time frame, which would mean about 100% move on Hexo would bring us up to around 40 cents USD. And did a video on the partnership with Mike Tyson. A lot of people, I actually didn't know that Hexo, or that Mike Tyson went to jail for rape charges in 1992. To be honest, I was 2 years old at the time, so there's probably a reason why I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, people were asking me, and they were a little offended by my thumbnail. I said an MJ company fit for a king. I didn't mean he's the end all be all. I personally don't even really like him that much as a person, but as an athlete, right? And I didn't even really like him as a person, like, just listening to him on Joe Rogan podcasts and things like that. He's just an odd individual, to be honest. But yeah, I totally understand where people are coming from. Having the association with him, it looks pretty bad. The fact that, yeah, he went to jail for rape in 1992, I think it was, and then he served 3 years. But people are asking, why would Hexo do this? I don't really have the answer. I would say that it's probably because it happened 30 years ago and not 3 years ago. If it happened 3 years ago, I highly doubt they would have associated with it. But I mean, something else to consider as well is that Mike Tyson's company, Tyson 2.0, has a CEO. It has other co-founders as well, right? Tyson's just a co-founder. So there's other people in the business as well. But, there was an article today, shout out to Power Group member, you know who you are for sharing it, but essentially the SQDC in Quebec is not going to be supporting, they're not going to be supporting these products, and they don't want to have any affiliation with Mike Tyson. And they went on in that article to go over the fact that he was charged with rape and went to jail. So I don't know, there's a lot of controversy going around it at the moment. Personally, I don't really have any feelings towards it. I totally get people who are excited, and I totally get people who are, offended and think that this is a terrible thing to do for Hexo to do. I will say that it would have been a little weird if Hexo signed a deal with Mike Tyson, like a brand partnership, kind of like what CGC did with Alec Manoah. That would have been a little weird. BioSteel with Alec Manoah. Or, that wasn't even directly Canopy. That was a subsidiary of Canopy. So, if Hexo said, we're signing a brand partnership with Mike Tyson, the end, I think that would have been a little bit odd to have their image like that. Or if, Hexo took a stake in their company, and had some equity in it. Or if, Mike Tyson had some equity in Hexo, I think it'd be a little different. But the fact that Hexo is just making the products, I don't think it's the end of the world, to be honest with you. But again, some people have mixed feelings about it, and it's very warranted. I was going to say something else about it as well, but yeah, I mean, Mike Tyson's on Joe Rogan all the time. Are people going to not watch Joe Rogan anymore because he had Mike Tyson on his podcast, right? How far are people willing to go with this? Is kind of my point, right? And again, you don't have to like the guy, right? It's purely a business decision, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything really to worry about it. And to be honest, there's going to be tons of more partnerships with Hexo and other companies and celebrities. Like, this isn't going to be the last that we've seen of this. So again, I don't think, like I said, when the deal happened, I said I don't think it was going to be anything that's going to, make Hexo go to, $10 today or anything like that. It's not going to be, the make or break partnership or anything for Hexo. But yeah, I totally get where everybody's coming from. Went off on a little bit of a ramble there, but yeah, I had a lot of people messaging me about it, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. But looking at American MJ, we have SHWZ, TAUG, and BEV leading the bull list, and on the bear list, we have NBEV, BMMJ, and Acreage. So MSOS pulling back within last week's range, but from here we're still in a weekly uptrend as long as 1096 holds. So that's our weekly higher low. That's the most important support going forward on MSOS. And we'll look to hold that support and break to another higher high and see continuation, right? We're starting the monthly bounce. And it's another monthly inside bar. So whichever way we break out of this monthly inside bar, we either continue the monthly bounce or we start monthly consolidation. That will allow us to potentially form a monthly higher low and a higher high, but not a lot of room. We want to see as big of a bounce as possible to allow for that higher low to form. All right, getting into some ticker requests. We'll jump into, I'm just going to take a look at the Power Group community, see if there's any updates. Yeah, dollar breaking to 20-year high. And I believe we have non-farm payrolls coming out tomorrow as well, so that'll be a very important metric to be following into tomorrow. Rashid would like to take a look at OTEX. Sure, no problem. On the TSX, open text. All right, so monthly downtrend. So here we had the high, low, lower high, and lower low. So on December of last year, that's when we broke to a lower low and confirmed the monthly downtrend. And from there, if you just exited there or took a monster short, that had been about a 33% short opportunity, but monthly downtrend did confirm we were in a monthly uptrend. And then here we are, we lost the EMAs. We had an EMA 12 and 26 bear across. We did basically, with that wick, we would have became very close to monthly oversold here on the RSI. And the weekly RSI is beaten down. We are starting to see a bit of a higher low forming here, and lower high and lower low, so a bit of hidden bullish RSI divergence, but we want to see this low here hold on the RSI around 26. But like I said, we're still in weekly oversold territory. We don't have any weekly resistance though, all the way up to $53. So once we do start the weekly bounce, what you could do if you're looking to add more or potentially go long on this one, what you could do is you could look at the high of this week, and if we break 41.56, then we could see a lot more upside from there, right? We could see even to EMA 12 there, that yellow line you're looking at even if you just enter, if we see a break of the high of this week, that'd be about 14% of upside. Or what you could do is potentially hold off another day, and then tomorrow will be the end of the week, and then break that high of this week next week. That'll mean that the weekly bounce is underway. And like I said, we have no resistance all the way up to about $53. So that's probably what I would do if you're looking for an entry. It doesn't look like we're going to start the weekly bounce this week because we'd have to get all the way up here to about $48 to start to break the high of last week's resistance. So what I would likely do is wait, see if we tighten up into next week. Could even be a weekly inside bar. That would allow for a nice tightening range and clear support and resistance levels to be going off of. So let's say we close the week tomorrow at $40, and then we open on Monday at $41. That would mean that we are a weekly inside bar, and resistance would be 41.56 and support would be 39.36. If we lose 39.36, we continue weekly consolidation, and if we break resistance at 41.56, we start the weekly bounce. So that could be a nice trade if we see a weekly inside bar into next week. Watch that resistance at 41.56. If you're looking to go long, you could even set a stop buy order, maybe buy it if we hit 42, and see if we can get up to EMA 12 there. That'd be about a 15% of upside. If we do see a bounce up to EMA 26, that'd be about a 20% move. That's likely what I would do. I'd likely wait with the end of the week coming tomorrow, dropping to a monthly lower low this candle as well. I mean, it's only the first day of the month, but we did have support there as well at 39.11 here on the monthly time frame. So the fact that we hit 39.36 is very, very close to that support. And like I said, pretty much monthly oversold, weekly oversold. I'd be watching for the weekly bounce to get underway, and that could happen, like I said, as early as Monday. And non-farm payrolls will be interesting tomorrow as well. That could add some headwinds to the ticker. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if you need anything elaborated on that. We'll take a look at the weekly time frame here as well. So in terms of 10-week moving average. So we were in a weekly uptrend here with the low, high, higher low, and higher high. And then we were holding as support this 10-week moving average, forming a nice base there, but ended up losing it. And then we saw the MACD and the stochastic cross bearishly. And you can see here we're getting pretty extended to the downside, looking really, really bearish. But I would expect a temporary bottom to be in here at some point soon, and the weekly bounce to get underway either next week or the week after that. I would put money on it. But if we do get back up to, so 48.67 is that 10-week moving average, which will now act as resistance once we backtest it. So that $48 to $49 area, 50 psychological, right, lines up right there. So I think that we could see on the next weekly bounce, we could easily see a move back up to that $48 to $49 area. In terms of the weekly moving averages, it's not looking good. We're seeing a bear cross here of the 50 and the 100, and then once that occurred here in mid-July, look, we've seen that's a bear cross, right? And we're seeing downside. But here we are, we could see the 50 cross through the 200 weekly. That's even worse. So yeah, just prepare for another potential leg down, maybe as low as $30. And again, if we get headwinds tomorrow from the broader market, if the non-farm payroll numbers come in, the job numbers come in tomorrow and they're not very good, well, that's not going to be good. Or they might even be really good, and that might keep encouraging the Fed to keep raising interest rates, which wouldn't be good for the broader market, right? But we're not looking good there, but we do have the 200 nearby at 53. So again, a lot of confluence in that area around the $50 area for resistance. We also have the 50-day moving average there at $49. So again, if you're looking at a trade on this one, I would say to be a nice trade, swing trade, enter on the weekly bounce starting, maybe around $42, and then look to sell it around $50. Could be a nice trade. And again, if you let me know, if you just give me the ticker, I can give you my complete unbiased opinion. But if you let me know, I've already got a position, or I'm looking to enter a position, or I'm looking to dollar cost average, I'm looking to short, go long, I can tailor the response a little bit more to your needs. But all right, jumping into the chat here. Hello, Rod. SPY tested 390. Can SPY test 410 in 10 to 20 days? Thanks for your question, Jatinder. Yeah, so yesterday I mentioned that I was expecting a pullback to around 390, 385, because that would line up well with this trend line that we were watching here on the weekly time frame as well. So we have this weekly support trend line that's holding, and we knew to be expecting a pretty big pullback. And right now, in terms of the daily time frame, we did have support there as well at 389.95, so essentially 390. 410 would bring us back up to around the EMAs here. So yep, it's entirely possible we close at the high of the day today. We're down slightly after market here, but we are set up for a potential daily bounce to begin tomorrow. And if the daily bounce happens, we have no resistance on the price action until 420, and then yeah, about 410, 409 on the EMAs. So I do think that now that we've tested 390, I mentioned yesterday that we had support there at 389.95, so essentially 390. I said that I'd be watching for a potential higher low on this weekly trend line, support trend line here, this white line. And we're also back testing the old resistance from this equilibrium when we broke out of it, right? So the fact that we're doing this is healthy in my opinion. We're still in a weekly uptrend, scouting a weekly higher low, but we need to change the daily trend back to an uptrend to be confident that the weekly bottom is in, right? And in order to change the trend on the daily time frame, we need a bounce, form a high, a higher low, and a higher high. So that bounce could start as early as tomorrow. So the key resistance to be watching going into tomorrow will be the high of the day today at 396.77. If we break that tomorrow, the daily bounce will be underway, and then yeah, I think we could see a move up to around 410 over the next couple of days. Thank you. You're welcome. Hey Rod, what do you think of Tilray maintaining above the 351 today? And also, what's your take on things getting worse between the US and China affecting the stock market? Yeah, so that's a very big concern, right? The geopolitical tensions that are at play here, we know that interest rates are probably going to be a death by 1,000 cuts. They're probably going to keep raising interest rates. There's a ton of bearish catalysts that could be coming. There's a lot of lawsuits, even in the crypto space. They're talking about, suing exchanges. They're talking about suing other companies, or not company. Well, some companies, some crypto projects. And there's also the Mt. Gox thing that's happening where people are getting their Bitcoin back, right? So they were able to recover those lost assets, and people are going to be getting, they haven't seen this money in years. And if they dump those Bitcoins on the market, there's even Michael Saylor's even being sued right now for tax fraud. So if he ends up having to sell his Bitcoin, or MicroStrategy has to end up selling his Bitcoin, that's going to hurt crypto. That's going to hurt the broader market. We know that crypto has been very correlated to the tech sector as well. It could escalate quickly. That's why I'm being very selective with my longs. I'm building a short position on the S&P 500, and I did exit some of my SPXS at that yesterday when we got close to that 390 support, but I will look to add again around 410. And then again at 430, 450, 470. And I'm just using that as a hedge position. But again, if we do see what we saw in the .com days, if we see, the RSI peaked in 96 and then the price peaked 4 years later, and then we went to monthly oversold. Look at here. The RSI peaked on the monthly time frame in 2018, and then 4 years later, the price peaked. So could we be heading to monthly oversold over the next 1 to 2 years? I think so. And we're actually pretty much halfway there. So it's eerily similar, and if we take the bus fractal, it's saying we could drop all the way down to about 236, and that very well could be from a China-Taiwan invasion. It could be from tensions with the U.S. There's also talks of the new BRICS nation system, which is a new payment system, and that is basically being designed to dethrone the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. And we could easily see some tensions geopolitically pick up, and that could be a catalyst for a lot more downside. There's a lot of catalysts that we could see to add to the bearish case, right? Just going back, look at how similar it is, right? We're following this. We had a lower high and a lower low, and right now it says we could potentially just chop and see one more leg down. It says we could pull back to around 333, which would line up with our previous all-time high there at 326 before the C19 dump. Back test old resistance as new support, and then we could start a monthly bounce back up to around 405, 410, and then see another leg down to around 286, and then another lower high around 350, 360, and then one more fifth final corrective structure and pullback in that wave 5 of the Elliott wave count, right? So again, it may not play out verbatim, but it certainly is so far. And the market is very manipulated compared to back in the .com days. We've seen what I think 90% of all money in circulation was printed in the last 10 to 20 years. So then the Fed was propping up the stock market, right? Injecting all of this liquidity into the market, printing trillions and trillions of dollars, and then buying stocks with it. So the market's manipulated. We could see one more final push higher. That's entirely possible. But if we do, I think that would just be a slight divergence. But ultimately, the trend is going to be down. So I don't really pay attention too much to the world events because the chart will tell us, right? The chart will say beforehand, usually, unless it's like a black swan event like the C19. But generally, as long as we just watch for support and resistance levels and patterns, major trends like the monthly time frame, right? If we lose the low here at 362, then we're going to continue the monthly consolidation and the monthly downtrend with the lower high and lower low. But we are starting monthly consolidation here. If we form a higher low compared to 362 and hold it and then break resistance here at 431, the high of the monthly bounce, we're going to be back in a monthly uptrend, right? So that's why I don't really care too much about the world events, because if we're in a monthly uptrend, that's pretty much all I really need to know, right? And if we're in a monthly downtrend, well, then I'm very, very bearish until we confirm a monthly uptrend, right? So I'm not really a geopolitical expert either. I don't, I don't follow that too much, but, just looking at the charts here, and like I said, we ran all the way down from it was 218, not factoring in the dividends here on SPY if we look at SPX instead of SPY. But, like I said, we got 125% worth of gains in 2 years on the S&P 500. The annual rate of return for the S&P per year is about 12%. So essentially we got 10 years worth of gains in 2 years. So, one would think, excuse me, if we got that extended to the upside, we're probably going to get quite extended to the downside, right? And usually the more aggressive pump you have, the more aggressive dump you have. The more aggressive dump you have, the more aggressive pump you have, right? So it's just ebbs and flows. It's just the name of the game, right? But again, we could potentially see one more move up in the markets. We're starting to see a lot of indicators saying that the bottom could be in, but we need to be careful though, because like I said, I think that we could see one hard and fast move up. A Bitcoin spot ETF could get approved as well. We've got Grayscale. Like all of these factors would help the stock market as well. But again, if we do see a move up, we could get extended. Maybe we test 500 on SPY. A lot of analysts have been saying that SPY was going to 500 for the last several years. And maybe we see that one more final push up to around 500, and then we just crater from there, right back down into the low 200s. I could see that happening, but again, we'll see it on the chart here as well. So I'll keep everybody posted, right? The more time that goes on, the more data we get, the more information that we can make a decision off of, right? And again, we don't know for sure. There's no guarantees, but we can look at what the most probable scenario is, right? And then plan accordingly and have a plan for both scenarios. It's all we can really do, right? We can't control what countries are doing. We can't control what happens to all these outside factors. All we can do is control what we can control, and what we can control is being prepared for the price to go up, down, or sideways, right? That's all we can do. But in terms of Tilray, maintaining 351, I'm not too worried about 351. 351 is the low of last week, so it's a double bottom so far. So that will be key support in the short term. That'll be support number one. It's a weekly inside bar, so if we lose that support, we'll start weekly consolidation again for the third week in a row. If we break resistance at 419, we start the weekly bounce, and then we'll be looking at the high of the bounce there at 452. But for me, the most important support is 317, and that is the higher low here in the weekly uptrend that we just confirmed. So the low, high, higher low, and higher high, weekly uptrend confirmed. Now we're scouting another higher low compared to 317. So 317 is the most important factor here going forward. And again, those non-farm payrolls that are coming out tomorrow, the job report, likely going to give us the direction in the broader market, and we're likely going to follow the broader market in MJ at the moment, just because of how much weakness there is and worry in the market right now. People don't, unless there's some kind of catalyst like safe banking or some kind of news that sector-wide affects these MJ stocks. I don't think people are going to be rushing into these risk-on assets, right? When the whole market is in turmoil and limbo, no one knows if we're going to see a massive drop on the S&P. So people are just being very conservative at the moment, right? The market doesn't like uncertainty. But the good thing is SPY could be setting a local bottom at some point soon. But I don't like the fact that Tesla still hasn't seen its daily EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. So maybe Tesla needs to see these EMAs bear cross before we set a temporary bottom here on the weekly time frame. We have no support down to 256 on the daily as well. So if we do trend down to that 256, that would mean about a 7 to 8% pullback from here, and that would line up well with an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. Maybe that's when we get our bottom, right? Because of how much weighting the S&P 500 has in SPY. So I think that we could be due for a little bit more weakness, maybe one more day, 2 more days of weakness, and then we start the weekly bounce. But yeah, Tilray struggling with EMA 12 as well. But again, look at all our names. We're starting to head back up to EMA 26 here on the weekly time frame. So that would bring us up to around 470 on Tilray. CGC got pretty close to its. ACB got about halfway. And then Hexo, not even halfway. So if Hexo starts to trend back up there, that would be about a price target of 42 cents. And again, the more names that do it, the better. VFF came pretty close to its EMA 26. SNDL came pretty close as well, and the USMJ has been very strong. So if we take a look at MSOS came pretty close to EMA 26. GTII actually got above it. CL got above it as well. GTII got quite a bit above it here, and we could start to see a bull cross of these EMAs. It'll be a while before they cross. So we're likely due for a weekly higher low at some point. Maybe we come back down on GTII, backtest EMA 12 there around $14, set a higher low, and then we see the bull cross and more continuation. But MJ's looking really, really good at the moment. US MJ definitely standing out as stronger comparatively to our Canadian peers. But yeah, a lot of our names starting to trend back up to that weekly EMA 26. So it's all about 317 for me on Tilray. But yeah, double bottom there, good eye at 351. So it's looking good. That'll be the key support number one going forward. And then that'll be short-term support. And then next support, medium-term support will be 317. And then $3. So that's the 52-week low there. And then after that, it's 243, which is the all-time low. So you're looking at 351, 317, $3, 243. And then resistances to be watching is 452, 517, and then we have nothing all the way up to 908. Hopefully that helps. Bought Hexo Tuesday and some more Tilray today and yesterday. Now own over 5K Tilray shares. Very nice. SQDC not going to sell Tyson 2.0 as they don't want Mike's image associated with SQDC Quebec media. Yeah, so Pal Group member shared that earlier today. And not surprising, totally not surprising whatsoever that Quebec would make that decision. Again, there's a lot of pushback that Hexo shouldn't have made that partnership. But again, it would have been, I think it would have been a lot different if, Hexo signs a marketing deal, brand partnership marketing deal with Mike Tyson, the end. That would have been like, okay, that's a little weird. But, it's a company. Tyson 2.0 is a company. There's a CEO that's not Mike Tyson. He's the co-founder, so there was other co-founders as well. So it's not like it's just Mike Tyson. Like there's what's that? Chad Bronstein's the CEO's name. And Adam Arviv was the one who basically set that up. So it seems like it came from the Redican side. And Charlie Bowman as well. And he's American. So I don't know. Personally, do I like Mike Tyson as a person? No, I didn't even know that he went to jail for rape. He still denies it to this day, apparently. But, he went to jail for 3 years. He's supposed to serve 6 years, went to jail for 3. And to be honest, I didn't know that when I made the video and when I saw that partnership. I didn't know he went to jail. I know he bit that guy's ear off or whatever. So, the guy's clearly a bit of a spaz, right? He's a bit of a loose cannon. I never really liked him. I watched him when he was on Joe Rogan. And I just, I always thought he had a weird vibe, so again, as a person, do I respect Mike Tyson? No. As an athlete, was he good? Yes. Right. And that's all I meant by, an MJ, it was an MJ company fit for a king. All I meant by him being a king was he was the king of the ring, right? He's an undisputed champion heavyweight of the world, ultimately, arguably one of the best of his sport and of his time. Huge iconic legend, right? And to be honest, kings did some pretty bad stuff back in the day. So just because I called him a king doesn't mean he's a good person, right? That wasn't the intent. That wasn't the motive. Again, I don't even really like the guy. Like from a respect of a good human, he seems really weird. Like he was on Joe Rogan, but again, how far are people going to take this? Like are Quebecers and SQDC not going to watch Joe Rogan because Mike Tyson was on Joe Rogan and Joe Rogan supports Mike Tyson? Like how far do people want to take it, right? I guess is the question. But to each their own, right? If they don't want to list it, that's their own decision. To be honest, edibles and vapes aren't even allowed in Quebec yet. So that would mean it would only be, and they're going to probably be using those straight edge pre-rolls, which aren't allowed in Quebec yet either because they mimic a cigarette too much. So yeah, Quebec has laws for sneezing the wrong way, right? So I'm not surprised that they're not partaking in this. And even if they did, the only thing that they'd be able to sell is flour, right? Because they don't allow edibles yet. And if they do, it's going to be like some rigorous, like they only allow like figs at the moment, like cauliflower and figs, right? Like dried fruit and vegetables, or yeah, it's weird. So anyway, don't think it's a big deal. Don't think they would have got vapes and edibles into Quebec anyway. So that really means that they would have only had pre-rolls and the straight edge wouldn't have flew. So if they were going to go into SQDC, they'd have to do like the cone shaped ones, and yeah, that probably would have just been a lot of friction, right? So they'll probably sell to the rest of Canada, just like they're doing with the Reddies and the edibles. And then what else? Flour. So realistically, it only would have been flour being sold to the SQDC anyway. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about the Tyson thing, because I mean, the guy did go to jail. I mean, it looks bad. But at the end of the day, I think probably the reason why it happened is because Adam Arviv facilitated the deal. He was a big reason why they signed the deal. And then Charlie Bowman being American. And yeah, they probably figured it happened 30 years ago. I think Mike Tyson's married. He's been married like multiple times. I think he's currently married. And, you know, people are human. People make mistakes. Whether or not he did it or he didn't do it, I don't know. But it looks like he did, right? So as a person, I don't really like him. I don't respect him. But, you know, if Hexo is going to partner with him, I'm not going to look at Hexo in any less of a light. You know what I mean? Like I said, if it was 3 years ago that it happened, you know, maybe that would have been a bad decision. But 30 years ago, you know, I don't know. I totally get it, though. I see why people are on both sides of that fence, right? I see why people hate the deal, and I see why people like it. To me, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really care either way, to be honest. If that's what Hexo wants to do, power to them, right? Like, Tyson's going to be selling products in the U.S. anyways, right? Like, are people going to stop buying his products? Probably not. And again, it's not just him. It's other co-founders. There's a CEO. Finally accumulated over 10K shares of Hexo. Very nice. Dollar cost average Hexo shares at $1.20 CAD for 15,000 shares. Here for the long term, and I do believe Hexo will be good in the long run. Thanks for your positivity. Yep, and I just try to be as real as I can, right? Like, obviously there's some negative things. You know, I would bring up all the positive and negative, but yeah, I'm definitely more of the a glass half full kind of guy. That's for sure. And I have realistic expectations, right? So a lot of people get emotional, and when the prices are down, it's like, how can you be bullish? The prices are at like all-time lows, right? It's like, well, the whole sector is as well. And you know, just look at what they're doing, right? Like, they're building the foundation. Same with Tilray. Like, these are two massive companies in the making. 3,274 shares of Hexo at 21.5 cent average. Very nice. Working to get to 10K before it booms. Yep, good goal. Really enjoy your videos. I'm finally understanding trading better. A long-term interest I finally have the nerve to try. So thank you, Rod and POW community. You're welcome. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'm glad that makes it all worth it. If I'm able to help people, you know, we're an investing and trading community. I do trading as well the odd time, like with that SPXS position, right, where I took a short position on SPY at around 430, and here we are down at 390, right? So that was a huge monster trade, you know, 30% trade in a couple of weeks. But you know, when it comes to MJ, I only invest right now because time in the market is better than timing the market, unless you're going to time the market, the broader market, and go short. That, you know, time in the market when you're going short, when the S&P 500 is at all-time highs or near all-time highs, that, you know, time in the market can be good there. But it just depends if you're going short or long. Our price is at all-time lows, near all-time lows, 52-week lows, or at the 52-week highs, right? And yeah, I like to have a balance of everything. Personally, I don't like staring at charts all day long, and I don't want to be a slave to the computer. So trading like a full-time day trader is not up my alley. I don't need the money anyway. Like, I don't, you know, quite frankly, the data shows that if you just buy and hold and wait, the hardest part is waiting. The data shows that if, you know, most investors, if you just buy and hold and wait, that's where the real wealth is made, right? Like Warren Buffett said, the stock market is a mechanism for transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient. So again, for me, I do trade, but I don't like being a slave to the computer. I like being my own boss. I'm building a portfolio. I'm building a strategy that requires a lot less, you know, hands-on attention. And when you're trading, you need to be like 110 focused, nothing else, right? You need to have your phone turned off. You need to have like all distractions turned off. And yeah, to be honest, it's like a job to me, right? Like, I don't want to be a slave to the computer. You're dealing with algorithms and bots and things like that. So trading, you know, I do like to trade here and there, but when it comes to like a full-time gig, that's not me. I'd rather travel, set some trades, you know, swing trading, investing. That's more of my cup of tea. But yeah, when SPY's at all-time highs and we're seeing a lot of weakness, it can be very lucrative to enter these day trades and short-term swing trades, right? So I like having a balance of both, but I'm definitely more of an investor and longer-term trades. But yeah, we've got day traders, we've got investors, we've got people who only invest in MJ, we've got people who only invest in crypto. That's why we say that the Power Group communities, your home for digital assets, right? Crypto assets, MJ stocks, and interviews. But we specialize obviously in MJ stocks first and foremost. That's about 80% of the content, and then crypto assets. So I do think that crypto and MJ are going to be around for many, many decades. They're going to be the best opportunities for us to generate wealth going forward, right? And the whole idea of pursuit of wealth is spotting these trends and markets and new burgeoning emerging markets, right? And that's what I said about. That's why I like crypto so much, is because it's essentially the internet of money, right? We have the decentralized internet of information now, where we can send an email from one corner of the world to the other in seconds, and now we're doing that. We're decentralizing, and we're forming the internet of money, the internet of value. So now we're able to transact value, send value to one corner of the world to the other corner of the world in the speed of light, right? The same rails and protocols that we use for the internet of information, right? TCP/IP. That all that information and fiber is going through light pulses. That's where we're sending money. That's how we're sending money now. And you might be wondering, well, money's been digitized forever. Like, I send e-transfers all the time, but that's not the same. You're using an intermediary, a bank, and you have to trust that bank, right? And look at what happened in 2008 when all the banks went under, right? And then not only that, if you're sending money cross-border, you have to go through all these clearing houses, and you have to go through all these different currencies, and there's risk of it can take up to a week or two for these currencies to get to where they're going. So the exchange rate could drastically drop in a week or two, right? It's actually more risky to do that than to send something like XRP, right? XRP sends and settles with finality in 3 to 4 seconds. So there's essentially no volatility, right? The dollar and the euro will probably have more volatility in the span of a week or two that it would take to send money cross-border than, say, a decentralized cryptocurrency like XRP, right? Even if XRP price was swinging, huge volatility over the last day or two, it doesn't matter, because if the transaction sends in 3 seconds, right? Case in point, XRP, let's count 3 seconds. It's at 33 cents and 33.09. So 33 cents at the moment. Let's count 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. It dropped by 0.001, right? And it's been another 3 seconds and it hasn't even moved. So in terms of volatility in a 3-second time frame, there is none. And if you think of all these settlement aspects of the stock market, remember when tax loss selling was happening and we were given 3 days to sell it? They said it's by the end of the month, but we had to do it. You had to sell, you had to make the trade and sell it 3 days before that date. Why? Because it takes 3 days for your stocks to settle, right, with your brokerage. And you might be wondering, well, I hit the sell button and now I have money. What do you mean it didn't settle? I have my money and it's done. I no longer own the stock. But on the back end, your broker hasn't settled it with finality. That's why it takes 3 days. And that's where XRP Ledger could come in and blockchain. If we get all of these tokenization of assets, so if we tokenize stocks, if we tokenize indices and ETFs like the S&P 500, we could settle with finality in 3 seconds. So it's not just crypto assets. We could even tokenize stocks, right? And there's already companies that are tokenizing stocks. And then with that running on the blockchain, we could essentially trade stocks 24/7, just like we do with crypto, right? So that's the value prop there with going to a more decentralized and blockchain world, right? Thoughts on the Tilray inverse ETF launching? Laughing out loud. I feel like it would only make a squeeze more epic. Yeah, I did see that. I don't know what I think about that, to be honest with you. It's a bit of an odd time to launch it. Yeah, maybe it's just to get retail wrecked. Maybe retail's going to, next time that we pump, everybody's going to think, oh, it's just another pump and dump. And then everybody jumps into that and then gets wrecked. And like you said, gets squeezed. Maybe, yeah, that's potential. But yeah, just very peculiar, odd timing that they released that. I have no idea why they did that at this time. I'll look more into that though. The partnership is great for business as long as Ontario takes the product. Laughing out loud, I'm not offended by words. Yep. Yeah, and, at the very least, at least they're in, like, any publicity is good publicity. So a lot of people are talking about Hexo, so that could be perceived as a good thing. But yeah, I don't really know. I'm not really sure how this partnership's going to go. A lot of people are saying it's a risky move. I think it could go either way, but like I said, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really have any hard feelings towards it, or I'm not super excited about it. Like it's cool to see that Hexo has the attention that it has, right? And one of the biggest icons in the sports world. But yeah, honestly, I didn't even know he went to jail and that he was a registered sex offender. And, like I said, I didn't even really like the guy before. From a business standpoint, do I understand why Hexo's doing it? Yeah, I do. Do I understand why people are upset that Hexo made this decision? Yeah, I do. So, yeah, I totally understand where people are coming from. Welcome to 2022, and everything can be offensive. Yep. We're definitely easily triggered. That's one thing I can say for sure. A lot of buzz on his product in the States, and he showed it off and spoke about it on Full Send podcast. I think it will sell fast here with the Nelk Boys publicity. A lot of Canadians watching that. Yeah, good point. Yeah, and he's like doing some tours around different dispensaries, I think, too, right? And then yeah, like 34% THC. I think one of the flower products were. So, we'll see. Could you please look at PLTR chart? Yep. Just give me 2 seconds here. Just checking in on the POW Group community. Yeah, there seems to be some chatter in the POW Group private community about the Tyson deal as well, but I'll have to read that later. All right, let's take a look at PLTR. And where do you think it's a good entry? I have an average of $13. So we are starting monthly consolidation for the second month in a row. You could enter, like, for example, if you have an average of 13, what you could do is you could look to bottom fish this with another entry. So what you could do is essentially look to enter now and then set your stop below the low there at 644. So you could try to bottom fish this. And if we do hold the low here, we'd be looking for a higher low and a higher high. We could potentially form a monthly uptrend here. Got another Airbnb booking request. Just give me a second here. Nice. Oh my God, guys, this Airbnb. How have I not been doing Airbnb before this? my place is literally booked every night, but pretty incredible. Cool. Okay, I'll deal with that in a moment. But yeah, you could be looking for a monthly trend change, right? So if we form this higher low and then break resistance, so now key resistance will be at 1162, key support's at 644. If we hold 644 here on this pullback and then break resistance there at 1162, we're back in a monthly uptrend. So what you could do is you could wait for the monthly uptrend to confirm if you're more conservative. If you want to be more aggressive, you could you could start to enter now, and you could dollar cost average, or you could set a stop loss below, say 630, 625, and if we lose that, you get stopped out, right? So essentially you'd be risking about 11% to make upwards of 50 to 100%, right? If we do confirm a monthly uptrend and continue the monthly bounce here after this brief consolidation. But it is set up for a potential monthly trend change. So that's probably what I would do. I'd probably enter a little bit. You could even enter a little bit more around these levels, dollar cost average, and then have another one as well where you set a stop loss, make another entry, and then set your stop loss below that. That's one way to do it as well. But in terms of the weekly time frame, we are coming out of weekly oversold. So all about 644. Daily downtrend as well. No resistance on the daily until about 843. Yeah, I'd probably enter with a stop loss, to be honest, at under 644. I don't know much about this company from a fundamental perspective, but yeah, even looking at the weekly time frame here, we're seeing a bear cross of the stochastic and the MACD. We're seeing a cross about to occur on the MACD. The stochastic's very bearish and has been for a while, and we're well below the 10-week moving average there at 940. So it's not looking too good in terms of the weekly time frame. And then nothing nearby until the 50 weekly there at 1435. In terms of the daily time frame, we did have the death cross back here in December of last year, and from there it crossed when we were at around 19, 20 bucks, and then from that death cross occurring, we dropped all the way down to $6. So we could even be gearing up for a golden cross where the 50 crosses down when the shorter term time frame is down below the longer term and it crosses up above it. That's called a golden cross when the 50-day crosses through the 200-day. So we're seeing a bull cross of the 50 and the 100, and we could see that golden cross play out over the next couple of months. So it's looking good, but we're still unable to. We were trying to confirm it as support here. That 50-day moving average got above the 100, came back down, then lost them both in one go. Not looking too hot. But like I said, we could see a little bit more downside, and then over the next few weeks and months, we could potentially see price trend back up to around that $10 area, and then that would bring our our moving averages closer together, and we could potentially see a golden cross over the next couple of months. So yeah, not a bad time if your average is $13, right? You're looking at, if you have an average of 13, you're able, even at current prices, you're able to reload 42% cheaper. So you're able to cut your cost basis down by quite a bit. And like I said, watch for a potential relief rally here. And what I would likely do is, like I said, just set that stop loss. But could be a nice bottom fishing opportunity here, looking for this monthly higher low and a possible monthly trend change. Because if we lose 644, we're going to continue the monthly downtrend, and you wouldn't, in my opinion, you wouldn't want to be in it at that point, right? So you could even wait, see if we get closer to that 644 support. Maybe you could even look to average in, right? You could enter a bit now. You could enter maybe 3 orders, another around 7, and then another closer to 650, right? You could scale in 3 orders, and then that would lower your cost basis, and then set your stop under, like I said, 640. That's likely what I would do. Hopefully that helps. What famous anybody doesn't have a scandal in the past? What human, for that matter? Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't defending him at any point. I totally get it why people don't like Mike Tyson and the image. I totally get why people like the deal as well, right? To me, I'm kind of indifferent. I think it's good that, the publicity. I think it's good that, iconic people are choosing Hexo. And yeah. I mean, everybody's human. Doesn't make it right what he did right. But again, we don't even, he still denies it to this day. it's not uncommon for celebrities to get that like to have that held against them, right? Too, because people take advantage of that, right? But you know, maybe he did do it, and he's a terrible person. I don't know. To me, it's neither here nor there. I can't prove it. Maybe we'll never know. But the fact is it happened 30 years ago. The guy was, what, 20 at the time. We're human. We make mistakes. Again, not defending him. But, you know, I think the circumstances here is what makes things different. If it happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe even that would have a little bit more of a factor. But the fact that it happened 30 years ago likely was what got Hexo over the hump. And you got to think, too, Hexo and Tilray are kind of partners now, too. So you have to wonder, like, Tilray now has that person on the board, right? Who was it? I think it's this Denise Faltashek. I think she came from, and maybe this Roger guy, but I think Denise Faltashek came from, what's going on here? Yeah. So Denise Faltashek came from Tilray. So she, I don't know, like, apparently Adam Arviv had a lot to do with that deal with Tyson. But, you know, basically Tilray might have even, like, approved it too. You know what I mean? Like, she's on the board now. I don't know. It's hard to say. Thank you, man. Very helpful. You bet. My pleasure. To me, he is very arrogant. Yeah, no doubt. That's an understatement. But the best at the game. Yeah, like there's no denying that he was, you know, one of the best of the best. Like I said, when I said he, you know, an MJ company fit for a king here, all I meant by that was that he was the king of the ring. Like he was the undisputed champ. He was the best, one of the best that ever played the sport. And yeah, like kings did some pretty bad things back in the day. Right? Like they like kill people endlessly for barely any reason, right? And you know, kings weren't super awesome people back in the day. So again, me saying MJ company fit for a king, I'm not saying that he's the best person and I love him as a person. It just means that, you know, it was just kind of a figure of speech, right? That one of the most iconic boxers and best boxers to ever play the sport, you know, choosing Hexo. So, and again, it was more than just Tyson too. It's that Brad Bronstein guy, the CEO. Tyson was just the co-founder. So there's other stakeholders involved as well. I know on the weekly chart, support is much lower than 12.5 cents, and my average is 11.5 cents. Sold some at 14 cents. Okay, cool. Yep. All right, well, I do have to run. I have a appointment that I have to run to. But yeah, SPY closed at 396, and looks like we could potentially start the daily bounce tomorrow. So tomorrow will be an interesting day in the markets. All right, going to end it there. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Powell Group. It's been a pleasure, as always. And if you could, smash the like on your way out. I would appreciate it. Help support me and the channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a great night.